So I mean, it's
Umar,
become
ये वही हो ना जो बाहर के स्कूलों में colleges में you find these counselors in-house resident
That's what I was just
where
going to find out.
जी.
Are you saying that this sort of thing has started now in Pakistan?
Oh, they
also?
have.
There's
They
certain
have
schools that
some
have.
schools.
Oh, that's
I know they
interesting.
do at the Lyceum. We have a number of people on our course from there.
And are the students there generally encouraged to go, or do their parents hold them back? I mean, what sort of reaction do they get?
Taboo, yes. I mean, what I do, like what I have done with the university, so usually my name is usually written as a career counselor.
Okay.
So when a student is approaching me, he doesn't feel that, people will think that why is he going or why is she going. So they usually think they're coming for career counseling, but they also come for personal counseling.
My question, I mean, the teenager today is a lot more liberal and more exposed, and so they're sort of open to this kind of an approach with other people. But my concern is more with their parents. Do you ever come across a situation where the parents may accuse the school of what are you sort of trying to influence my child with?
Yes,
I
they
think
do.
parents in general, whether it's of teenagers or adults, tend to be defensive about their children being in counseling, because there's always this preconception that counseling is about blaming the parents for where they went wrong. Parents, especially in this culture, are prone to
And in Karachi, where like I've worked with school, I'm also working with a junior school now, a very well-known school, and you'll be surprised how happy the parents are to have this kind of help. And they come to you and they approach you and they are ready to listen and they do follow. And what I do at times, because we do have the stigma problem, so what I do, when I take them as a group. I do mostly group therapy with them. So when the children are together, they feel, those who need a bit of help, they are, very relaxed and
that probably also gives them an opportunity to share.
Yes.
And sort of build more of a community or a confidence amongst one another, perhaps.
Yes.
So that's a very good approach.
So if anyone, be it in a school or an adult, anyone sees a therapist or seeks help or just a counselor for any problem as small as it may be, wouldn't that be seen as, or isn't it, in my opinion, seen as, he's seeing a psychiatrist or he's seeing a psychotherapist, and wouldn't parents feel the same way about the children or fellow students or peers, fellow workers?
What would their friends say?
Let me tell you one thing, when people opt for therapy, okay, and they're all undergoing quite a lot of, psychological pain. People understand when you have psychological pain, but it's very real, more hurting than the physical pain. So people, they go in for therapy because they need it. And they may not want to talk about it or whatever, but they do go in for this option because it is important. You'll be surprised, the variety of clients that I have, they come from all walks of life. Even in schools when I work at the university, even for my private clientele, they come from all walks of life. And actually what's happening is that, a relationship has gone wrong. It has to do with the relationship. A relationship has gone wrong. It could be between the parents and the child. It could be between other, family, the different family dynamics. It could be between a teacher and a child. It could be anything. But that relationship going wrong becomes so painful that,
Basically, it's worth seeing.
they do want to.
We as a society have not yet come to terms with therapy, and we still don't understand. Like, I'm an employer, और अगर मुझे किसी का मैं इंटरव्यू ले रहा हूँ, मैं पता चले कि he has seen a psychiatrist, तो शायद ये मेरी जहालत है, लेकिन I would probably say, yeah, it's going to, he's got issues. So my question to you is, are we foolish to think just because someone is seeing a therapist, bad word maybe, a counselor, there's nothing wrong with it? ये नहीं वो खुदा ना खास्ता पागल नहीं है. And if this person is seeing a counselor or a therapist, he's actually going to become a better person, but not necessarily be dealing with a problem.
And they're committed to self-growth. And what I was saying is that there's a lot, there's not only a stigma around counseling, there's a stigma around dealing with a lot of other very prevalent issues in this society, such as addiction, eating disorders, especially amongst young girls today. Eating disorders are,
And something of that nature is not going to ruin their work environment. I mean, if she's, for instance, if it is something like
Right. I mean, the person who's committed to going and seeking help for something is already has a head start.
But generally हमारे society के बारे में ये भी कहा जाता है कि we are averse to seeking help and giving help.
Because
वो
we're
तो
in
हमारी-
denial, we're in collective denial about the state of our society on all stratas. Now, the educated elite have very different problems than the poor, but on all levels, we are, to some extent, a society in a state of crisis. The intention to self-actualize, the notion that improving yourself is not, selfish, which, like so many women here, would consider going to a counselor very indulgent. Yet they go to a beauty salon, they go buy a jewelry set. But the idea of spending money or time on themselves, for their personal mental growth is not really part of our concept. And the first thing we have
Things
to
are changing.
That's the
changing
first-
very fast. I mean, a lot of people, they tell me, I want you to see this, and I always tell them, ask that person to call me. Because it has to be, you want
they have
it.
to be willing to do it.
They have to be willing.
Otherwise, they're not going to talk and express
There's no
themselves,
point.
and it doesn't go anywhere.
And people also, at times they don't understand what is this counseling, because we as a nation, we as a race, we as a culture, we have this habit of advising.
जी हम free advisor
They think it's you're an agony on
But
us. Yeah.
sermons are very easily, given, and people think that probably that is counseling. At times people come, they're sitting, the client is sitting, you're sitting, they're quiet, you're quiet, and
They're not opening
This
up.
counseling-
because-
and no, they are not opening up, not because of that. They feel that that probably you're going to give a sermon or advice, and then they say, why are you not saying anything? And then I say that I'm waiting for you.
In which case, they need to go to one of those
And
people who just
I'm
give them
waiting
pills
for
straight away.
No, but
That's
so
basic-
people want solutions,
Ji, ji.
and the job of the counselor is to empower people to make their own decisions, which is very hard in a society where there is so much confluence between parents and children. You walk through Pakistan as a reflection of your family. So realize self-actualization, in addition to the stigma, is just very hard because somehow it feels like a betrayal of your family.
So what I want to understand quickly and then move on is basically words used, counselor, problem solving, solutions, and those are all raising red flags in my mind. जो मैं चीज़ शायद कहना चाहूँगा वो कि it's not just when you have a problem or a crisis should you go to a counselor. Every now and then when you feel you're not growing, you're not being able to find your direction, when you're having trouble finding a path, not just because you're having trouble dealing with you, आप
doesn't
बीमार
have to be
फील
an
कर रहे
aggressive
हैं,
issue,
सर
it
में
could
दर्द
be-
नहीं है, ये नहीं कि मैं रात को नींद नहीं आ रही, वो इशू नहीं है. इशू ये है कि उमर साहब में खैर ये तो उनसे तो मेरी कभी बन ही नहीं सकते. if you feel कि आपको पब्लिक डीलिंग में इशू हो रहा है, आप ग्रो नहीं कर, बात नहीं कर पा रहे, उस चीज के लिए भी
But if you
काउंसलर
look
के पास
at
चलना भला है.
organizations, they all have these supports.
Right.
They have training programs. They have, there's so much of emotional intelligence now being
लेकिन वो तो
done.
एक
It's so-
एक्सट्रैक्ट हो गया ना, लेकिन
Yeah, but-
जनरल जो हमारी कौम है वो तो अब तक अगर हम मोहतात अंदाज 90% of the population would be very averse to seeking any kind of therapy.
This is what I always used to think, but coming back to Pakistan, working here, I've worked with a lot of schools, and I always found them very receptive.
So there is,
I
alhamdulillah,
So
always
there is a
found
change
them
coming
very
about.
receptive, and they were ready to comply with whatever they would think would be best for the child, and they would be, even as even university students.
So there is a proactive change going on.
Yes,
So that's
I
good.
feel that.
So inshallah we will get there.
I hope so.
Juma.